The junior who had a crush on Zhou Rang left me paralyzed from the waist down. He knelt by my hospital bed, holding my hand with guilt, vowing to care for me forever, yet later, he was rolling between the sheets with that junior in our own home, and there I was behind the door, powerless to even turn away. After a year of marriage, Zhou Rang's guilt had completely faded. On the slope, he personally unlocked my wheelchair and pushed me into traffic. He only said one thing, "Donga, I owe you nothing." When I woke again, I was back in my junior year of college. In the foot spa, Zhou Rang crouched humbly before me with his toolkit. Madam, the water temperature is adjusted." I stared blankly at the person before me. At that moment, Zhou Rang still carried a youthful innocence between his brows. He pressed his lips together nervously, face flushed with embarrassment, eyes brimming with both hurt and defiance when I remained silent. "Xia Donga, if you came here just to humiliate me." Mission accomplished. "Now please let me work." The air turned glacial. My best friend Xiao tried to defuse the tension, but I caught her by the wrist. Then I looked up at Zhou Rang, glancing at his name tag, Technician 35. "You find your job humiliating." I coolly averted my gaze. "Your work ethic is unacceptable. You don't even bother serving customers properly." "I want someone else." Zhou Rang stared straight at me. In his mind, I should have been groveling to please him. The old Xiadonga would never have spoken to Zhou Rang in such an icy tone. Lying on the bed, I said coldly, "Get out." Zhou Rang's knuckles turned white as he gripped the toolbox. His eyelids twitched as if deeply humiliated before he turned to leave. When everyone had left, Xiao moved closer and asked, "Have you been possessed? Weren't you just defending Zhou Rang earlier, saying his hands were meant to dance across piano keys, not massage feet? Why the sudden change?" I buried my face in my hands and let out an exhausted sigh. Looking up again, I gave a wry smile. "Someone like Zhou Rang isn't worth my attention." Xiao smiled approvingly. "Glad you finally came around. That wasn't easy." Mid-conversation, sudden commotion erupted outside the door. "Let me in, don't stop me." Jiang Xia burst in, eyes red with anger as she confronted me. "Xia Donga, how could you humiliate Senior Zhou? A proud man like him, do you have any idea what this means to him?" Xiao frowned. "And who exactly are you?" Jiang Xia turned away. "Rich girls like you could never understand the struggles Senior Zhou and I've been through. You just leech off your parents, while we earn our keep with dignity. If anyone should be ashamed, it's you parasites." Jiang Xia is that Junior Zhou Rang always talks about. Listen to that defiant tone. What Zhou Rang admired most about Jiang Xia was her unyielding spirit. Even after we got married, he'd often mention how she bloomed like a flower pushing through concrete, the complete opposite of my crippled self. I glanced at Jiang Xia's uniform and suddenly remembered, when Zhou Rang started working at this foot spa, she immediately quit her bubble tea shop job and followed him here the next day. I smirked at her. What a coincidence. The parasite you're badmouthing happens to own this place. Consider this your termination notice. You. Jiang Xia's face flushed then paled. Panic flashing in her eyes, Zhou Rang rushed over. At the sight of him, her eyes welled up. "Senior, I just wanted to stand up for you. I didn't mean to upset Xia." Zhou Rang stepped in front of Jiang Xia, frowning. "If you've got a problem, take it out on me. Don't take your anger out on others. That's just laughable. Not working during office hours. Think this is your damn living room." I glared at Zhou Rang. "Take it out on you. Who the hell do you think you are? Both of you, pack your shit and get out now, understood?" 2. I chased after Zhou Rang for 2 years. He's a piano prodigy with slender, dexterous hands that can make even the most ordinary piece sound extraordinary. He played the piano while I danced. We were once considered the perfect artistic duo. The arts have always been an expensive field to pursue. By his junior year, Zhou's family could no longer afford to support his education. He agreed to date me just to stay in school, blinded by joy. I missed the resentment and humiliation in his eyes. I ended up covering all his college expenses. Zhou Rang and I got engaged right after graduation. As expected, on the very day of our engagement, Jiang Xia pushed me down the stairs, and I broke my spine. Zhou Rang rushed to the hospital, his eyes bloodshot as he knelt by my bed and said, "Donga, I'll marry you." But Jiang Xia is only 22. She has a real shot at joining a top-tier dance company. Could we just let this go? Under the covers, I dug my nails into my lifeless legs, my voice trembling. But Zhou Rang, I was a dancer too. His hands shook as he clutched mine, tears falling onto my skin like rain. "Donga, just let her go, will you?" Zhou Rang knew perfectly well that elite dance company he mentioned had always been my dream. I was supposed to join right after the engagement. I was this close. After being discharged, I became partially paralyzed and could never return to the stage. Zhou Rang pleaded with countless people but still couldn't get Jiang Xia released. Later he visited me daily, weeping with guilt, saying it was all his fault that I ended up like this. For the longest time, he never once mentioned Jiang Xia. I thought he had truly moved on. Dongga, I'll take responsibility for you, trust me on this. Zhou Rang gazed at me with tearful, soulful eyes. I nodded, my own eyes reddened. My wedding with Zhou Rang went smoothly. He was genuinely good to me at first. Until Jiang Xia showed up at my home, trembling with rage. I confronted her. Shouldn't you be in prison? How is this possible? Jiang Xia looked down at me with a smirk, holding out my school dance costume and shoes. Senior, you left something behind, she said. I'm just returning your belongings. She smirked at my legs, though I suppose you don't need them anymore. I lunged at her like a madman, screaming, how are you here? How are you here? Jiang Xia took a step back, relishing the sight of me tumbling helplessly from the wheelchair. She batted her eyelashes. I owe my ability to stand here so comfortably to your dear father. I froze. Zhou Rang happened to return at that moment. He frowned at Jiang Xia before rushing over to support me. With bloodshot eyes, I clutched his hand tightly and pointed at Jiang Xia. She escaped from prison. Call the police to arrest her now. Hurry. Zhou Rang looked at me with pity. Dongga, Jiang Xia didn't break out of prison. Seeing Zhou Rang's calm expression, I completely broke down. He clung to me desperately, urging Jiang Xia to leave immediately. That day I sank my teeth deep into Zhou Rang's shoulder, staining his white shirt crimson with blood. Only then did I realize my father, seeing me so despondent, had feared I might do something drastic. Back then, Zhou Rang was the only one who could bring light to my eyes, and I became utterly dependent on him. Zhou Rang approached my father, offering to marry me and stay by my side for life, on the condition that Jiang Xia be spared without a single blemish on her record. As I was my father's only daughter, his heart softened and he agreed. Later, Jiang Xia returned to campus. Her 2-month disappearance was whitewashed as a study abroad exchange, after which she became a scholarship-winning campus goddess in everyone's eyes. After learning the truth, I cried daily, consumed by anxiety and insecurity. Zhou Rang treated me even better than before, tolerating all my tantrums without complaint. Over time, I gradually came to believe everything was my fault. Zhou Rang had sacrificed too much. I started walking on eggshells to please him. Jiang Xia never showed up again. In the 3rd year of our marriage, Zhou Rang completely took over my family's company. My father suffered a stroke from overwork and was hospitalized. I kept wanting to visit him, but Zhou wouldn't allow it. That night, they drank until the early hours celebrating Zhou Rang's successful takeover of the company. In the end, it was Jiang Xia who brought him home. In the dimly lit living room, I watched my husband being affectionate with the woman who ruined me. Zhou Rang staggered over and patted my head, saying, Dongga, it's too late. I don't feel comfortable letting Xia go home alone. She'll stay with us tonight. With that, he led Jiang Xia back to their room. A door now stood between us. Inside, laughter and warmth lingered. Outside, only cold desolation remained. 3. The whole campus is buzzing about me finally cutting off Zhou Rang. The forums are flooded with discussions about it. Onlooker 1, bet you anything Xia Dongga is playing hard to get. No way she'd give up after chasing Zhou Rang for so long. Onlooker 2, Xia's gorgeous, loaded and talented. Zhou's just a social climber, so what if she was blind before? Our queen's got her vision back now. Melon Observer 3, seconded, nailed it. Summer Zhou, if y'all got so much free time, go practice your skills. Anybody with eyes can see Zhou Rang Sr. was never into Xia Dongga. She threw herself at him but got rejected. That's why she gave up. So cringe. Soon the comment section erupted into chaos, with Summer Zhou single-handedly taking on the entire crowd. Quite entertaining to watch. As I looked down at my phone, a shadow suddenly fell across my view. I looked up to see Zhou Rang staring at me with a stern face. We need to talk. I grabbed my things and walked away without looking back. Talk to him. I feel sick just looking at him now. Dongga, Zhou Rang came chasing after me. Seeing me walk faster, he stood still and shouted, Xia Dongga. Don't make me angry, you know what'll happen. I froze abruptly. This was the exact phrase Zhou Rang, who cheated after marriage, always used. Memories of him yanking my hair and beating me flooded back, my body trembling uncontrollably. I turned slowly to find him standing a short distance away. That gaze, it was definitely not the restrained Zhou Rang I knew now. He approached step by step, finally stopping just an arm's length before me. with the same smug confidence as calling a dog. He extended his hand. "Come here." I froze in place while Zhou Rang maintained that faint smirk. After a moment, I lifted my head and took a firm step back. Watching Zhou Rang's stunned expression, I spat out, "Go fuck yourself." I turned and walked away, hearing Zhou Rang grind his teeth behind me. "You'll regret this." Rounding the corner, I slumped against the wall gasping for air, my palms slick with cold sweat. No matter how calm I appeared on the surface. But years of psychological manipulation had wired me to instinctively fear Zhou Rang. I kept telling myself it's a fresh start, Zhou Rang's just a penniless student now, powerless to do anything, yet this gnawing unease persisted until I heard a hauntingly familiar melody. In its past life, this composition had taken the internet by storm the moment it dropped. Its creator was an obscure pianist who'd lived in a basement for 3 years. The heartbreaking yet uplifting backstory made the piece resonate deeply, but now, the composer's credit went to Zhou Rang. I cursed under my breath. What a scumbag. The pity was, no one else knew how despicable Zhou Rang truly was. According to the timeline from my past life, the original composer only had a rough idea for this melody in their head at this point, hadn't even started writing it down. Even he himself probably felt like he'd had a mental collision with Zhou Rang. As before, this composition grew increasingly popular, with many approaching to purchase its copyright. Zhou Rang suddenly became the golden boy of the entire academy. This composition solved his financial difficulties. Those days of struggling to pay tuition and put food on the table in my past life never returned, though I despised Zhou Rang's actions. I couldn't produce any evidence and had to watch this scoundrel thrive. I saw Zhou Rang again 2 weeks later. He played Mariage d'amour under the girls' dormitory. Under the streetlight, Zhou Rang stood in a tailored suit, his eyes radiating sheer arrogance. The air buzzed with fawning admiration as starstruck girls gasped breathlessly around him. As the song ended, Zhou Rang rose and gazed at the crowd, declaring with theatrical tenderness, "Xia, be my girlfriend." Zhou Rang gazed at Jiang Xia with burning intensity as their classmates erupted in rowdy cheers. From my dorm window, I watched Jiang Xia cover her trembling lips, tears glistening as she nodded fervently. "I do." The two embraced in each other's arms. Zhou Rang spotted me, still holding Jiang Xia, tilting his head up with a smirk before shooting me a knowing eyebrow raise. I rolled my eyes and drew the curtains shut. Zhou Rang and Jiang Xia's romance burned with passionate intensity. They broke into the music classroom at midnight, playing piano and dancing until campus security chased them halfway across the school. Defying school regulations, they took commercial gigs and went viral online, becoming the internet's most envied golden couple. They kissed and took photos atop the piano-shaped stone monument that symbolizes musicians' devotion. Jiang Xia's pale feet rested on the piano keys while Zhou Rang knelt attentively painting her toenails. Of course, none of this had anything to do with me. After Rebirth, I cherished every second. The sheer exhilaration of dancing freely with my legs was intoxicating. I started preparing for the dance troupe audition a year in advance. Those sweat-drenched practice sessions in the studio filled me with pure joy and fulfillment. Zhou Rang, Jiang Xia, your misconduct has severely damaged the school's reputation. After faculty deliberation, we're issuing both of you formal warnings. Standing outside the office door, hearing their names mentioned left me momentarily dazed. I knocked gently on the door. The counselor noticed my expression softening slightly. I handed over the form in my hand. "Here's the roster you requested, Professor." The counselor took it and turned to Jiang Xia. "You and Xia Dongga are in the same program. Her current skills rival dancers with years of company experience. While you're busy with flashy gimmicks, learn from your senior Xia. In our field, romance means nothing, only skill matters." Jiang Xia forced a nod with a strained smile, but her gaze toward me turned venomous. "All right, the college will handle your disciplinary actions." "Hold on," Zhou Rang cut in with a smile. "Professor, take a look at this before deciding whether to punish us." He handed the advisor a sheet of musical notation. The advisor grew more delighted with each glance, while my frown deepened. I looked up at Zhou Rang. He met my gaze without a trace of guilt, his eyes brimming with smugness. "Professor, as a fellow professional, you understand this composition's worth better than I do," Zhou Rang said reassuringly while taking Jiang Xia's hand. "The piece hasn't been published yet. I can add our school's name to the credits. As for disciplinary action, surely you wouldn't want your star student tarnished with a black mark." The advisor fell silent, placing the score on the desk before saying, "Go back for now. I'll discuss this with the administration and get back to you." Thanks for your hard work, Professor. Zhou Rang nodded and walked out of the office with Jiang Xia. I said a quick goodbye to the advisor and hurried after them. Zhou Rang, wait up. Jiang Xia immediately stepped in front of Zhou Rang when she saw me, shooting me a hostile glare. Xia Dongga, have you no shame? He's my boyfriend now. My gaze burned into Zhou Rang's eyes with barely contained fury. Zhou Rang patted Jiang Xia's head affectionately. Be good, go back first. He leaned close to her ear. Didn't you always want to join Splendor Dance Troupe? I've got a surprise for you in a few days. Jiang Xia playfully punched his arm with a smile. Then you'd better not get too close to her. Got it, babe. After suppressing my disgust and waiting for Jiang Xia to leave, I confronted him. You stole someone's composition again. You know better than anyone that teacher Yutong wrote that piece to save his wife's life. How can you live with yourself? Zhou Rang sneered. Why wouldn't I? Yutong wouldn't finish this song for another 6 months. By then his wife would already be terminal. What good would a hit song do? Better to let it enhance my portfolio where it can actually make a difference. Teacher Yutong was your mentor. He's the one who brought you out of the mountains. Zhou Rang roared. When the song blows up and I get the money, I'll lend him the surgery fees. I'm helping him. I froze. Zhou Rang's twisted morals shattered my last shred of tolerance. You're utterly shameless. Keep stealing others' work and you'll run out of songs eventually, sooner or later. Everyone will see you're just a fraud. Zhou Rang shrugged with indifference. That's probably years away. Worst case scenario. I'll gracefully admit I've lost my touch and retire behind the scenes. People will just lament my departure and forever remember me as the prodigy Zhou Rang. By then I'll have fame and fortune. What do I care about petty gossip? Zhou Rang stepped closer, eyes burning with malice. Regretting your choices now. Xia Dongga, I gave you a chance. The first thing I did after Rebirth was find you, but you blew it. Now I'm the celebrated genius while you're the pitiful cast-off. You and that idiot father of yours will get exactly what you deserve. I frowned. What does my father have to do with this? Disgust flashed in Zhou Rang's eyes as he sneered. Know why I returned later than you? Because I spent a year on the run after your death. All thanks to that old bastard father of yours. I should have rightfully inherited all Xia family shares as your widower. But no, your dad had contingency plans. The day your death was announced, his lawyer donated every last share and handed police evidence of Xiaxia pushing you off that building. Xiaxia's reputation was ruined. She panicked during the arrest, ran into traffic, and got obliterated by a truck. 3 months pregnant too. Zhou Rang grew increasingly agitated. Your father deserved to die. The bastard actually had people investigate your death beforehand, trying to send me to prison. Because of him, I've been on the run for over a year. That stroke-ridden old fool should have rotted in the nursing home. Why did he have to interfere? I froze in shock. My father had been hospitalized before my accident. He knew everything all along. He'd even arranged everything for me before collapsing himself. My eyes stung with unshed tears. Xia Dongga, my return proves even the heavens reject that ending. The Xia family owes me and Xiaxia, and you'll repay every last debt. Slowly turning to Zhou Rang with bloodshot eyes, I whispered hoarsely, yes, it's time to repay. You competed in Golden Age Dance Troupe's audition last lifetime. Surely you remember the champion's routine. Zhou Rang's tone brooked no argument. Recreate it for Xiaxia. That trophy belongs to her. My fists clenched tightly as I sneered. Fine. Zhou Rang was pleased by my compliance. Xia Dongga, admit it. No matter how many times we start over, you'd still fall for me. Don't worry. If you behave, I might reconsider. Zhou Rang started away triumphantly. I watched his retreating figure, my gaze turning icy. 5. With 3 months left until the Xingshi dance troupe auditions, Jiang Xia, egged on by Zhou Rang, showed up at the practice room to harass me daily. I put my heart and soul into teaching her the dance. Jiang Xia sneered. So much for the goddess Xia. All that effort choreographing this dance, only to hand it over to me. Seems Zhou Rang told her this dance was mine. True. Though I wonder if you're even capable of pulling it off. Save your concern, I'll definitely outdance you. Jiang Xia brimmed with confidence, hoping to dominate the assessment with that same regal air. While we were preparing for exams, Zhou Rang wasn't idle either. He signed up for an obscure competition. The event seemed insignificant, but who could have predicted it would catch the eye of world-class masters? Its top performers later became industry legends. Zhou Rang's prior reputation gave him a head start, causing the competition to gain attention earlier than in his previous life. Riding on the coattails of another artist's hit song, Zhou Rang clinched the championship without breaking a sweat. the mastermind behind the scenes had taken notice of Zhou Rang, but to my surprise, it wasn't him who presented the award on finals day. I froze when a noticeably younger face appeared on camera. On the live broadcast, Zhou Rang's brows furrowed almost imperceptibly, clearly displeased with this person presenting his award. Yet he restrained himself in public, his gaze fixed on the trophy with a calculating glint that starkly contrasted with the other man's composed demeanor. The man turned to Zhou Rang with a smile. "I've heard your previous works, each one remarkable. Might I ask you a question?" Zhou Rang kept his eyes on the trophy, his tone indifferent bordering on impatient. "Go ahead." Unfazed by the rudeness, the man remained courteous. "I'm curious about the dramatic emotional shifts in your compositions. Your first original piece radiated hope and passion, yet the second plunged into profound grief, all within a fortnight. What inspired such a stark transition in so short a time?" Zhou Rang's expression froze, a flicker of panic flashing in his eyes. Camera flashes bombarded them as reporters scrambled for the scoop, yet several minutes passed without Zhou Rang uttering a single word. After a pause, his face darkened as he said flatly, "Creation is deeply personal. I won't discuss it publicly, that question stays unanswered." The man's smile faltered as he nodded understandingly. "My apologies, that was presumptuous of me." Fame grants infinite leniency. People instinctively justified Zhou Rang's eccentric behavior as artistic temperament. After the competition, Zhou Rang became the piano world's brightest rising star, the name on everyone's lips. These days he's constantly networking with elites at business functions. I haven't seen him in the practice room for ages. What's more, the original tournament champion was supposed to be taken as a disciple by that grandmaster, but in this lifetime, apart from the initial hype, the master never showed up again. Though strange, it might just be the butterfly effect after Rebirth. I didn't dwell on it. After Zhou Rang rose to fame, he befriended some locally influential figures. His first move was to throw subtle obstacles in my father's company's way. "My dad's been swamped lately, barely home all week." Zhou Rang called me, he said. "Consider this a friendly warning. Teach Xia properly." "Got it." I tightened my grip on the phone. "Understood." After I taught the exam choreography, Jiang Xia never showed up in the practice room again. She only crammed a few quick run-throughs right before the assessment. Soon came the evaluation day for the Grandeur dance troupe. Jiang Xia arrived at the audition radiant in meticulously prepared dancewear, having hired a professional makeup artist. The evaluation process is completely transparent and open, with all candidates permitted to observe on-site, and the entire session is being recorded. The previous groups of examinees performed at similar levels, and the judging panel appeared quite satisfied. Jiang Xia stood behind me and whispered, "I really don't know why you bothered showing up. Just asking for humiliation." I curled my lips and nodded, looking forward to being humiliated by you, Junior Jiang. When the examiner called my name, I ignored Jiang Xia's sarcastic remarks and stepped forward. As the music began, I danced with all my might, just like I had during countless days and nights of practice. In an instant, the surrounding noise faded away. I felt a spotlight shining down as I danced in my most beautiful costume, performing the moves I loved. When the music ended, I opened my eyes, breathing slightly heavily. The surroundings were so quiet I could hear nothing but my own breathing. Someone started clapping, and suddenly the room erupted in applause as I bowed with a smile. As I exited, a fellow dancer came up to congratulate me. "You were amazing." Everyone was mesmerized. Even the judges couldn't stop nodding. "You've definitely got this in the bag." "Thanks." I didn't feign modesty. No one understood better than me how much effort I'd poured into preparing for this audition. "I'll keep working hard to deserve these flowers and applause." "TCH, who are you trying to fool?" Jiang Xia rolled her eyes nearby. Soon it was her turn to take the stage. I have to admit, Jiang Xia has a natural talent for this. She doesn't practice diligently, but her innate abilities carry her through. The performance was flawless though not particularly outstanding. It's just a shame the dance ended up being so conventional. I had higher hopes for her. Jiang Xia's innovative choreography also earned her plenty of applause. She strode off stage with her head held high, oblivious to the furrowed brows of a veteran judge in the panel. Jiang Xia deliberately bumped into me as she passed by, smirking. "Oops, senior, guess I stole your spotlight." I curled my lips slightly, watching her in silence. My gaze made Jiang Xia visibly uneasy. She scoffed and walked away. My gaze shifted to the judges' panel, where the frowning teacher exchanged a few words with colleagues before their eyes subtly drifted toward Jiang Xia. Jiang Xia, who'd been confident of victory moments earlier, now sensed something amiss and nervously clutched at her skirt. Though all contestants should have been dismissed immediately after performances, we were all instructed to remain. The venue was then sealed off as organizing committee officials arrived. Everyone was whispering and speculating. Terrified the matter might involve them, I waited calmly, but Jiangxia couldn't sit still. She crept up to me and asked anxiously, "Xiadonga, did you do something?" I smiled. "Jiangxia, a clear conscience fears no false accusations. Why panic?" Jiangxia gnashed her teeth. "If you ruin me, Brother Zhou Rang will make you pay." I remained expressionless, ignoring everything she said. The committee members brought computers and kept cross-checking with the exam footage. The atmosphere grew increasingly tense as several teachers glared at Jiangxia with barely contained fury. Jiangxia tried to contact Zhou Rang, but her phone had been confiscated earlier, cutting off all outside communication. Half an hour later, the organizing committee immediately declared Jiangxia's exam results invalid. On what grounds? Jiangxia shouted in protest, her flawless makeup slightly contorted with anger. The committee members couldn't care less about her dissatisfaction and continued, "Not only are your results voided, examinee Jiangxia will also be banned from all examinations and competitions organized by any institution for the next 5 years. Furthermore, we've already reported this incident to the police. You'll need to accompany us to the station to explain exactly how you obtained the confidential dance routine that hadn't been publicly released." The moment those words were spoken, the room erupted in uproar. Jiangxia panicked too, her eyes reddening as her voice trembled. "I didn't steal anything, it wasn't me." She turned to me. "I get it now. This is all you're doing." Grabbing my arm desperately, she cried, "It's her. She taught me all these dance moves. Arrest her instead." My eyes welled up. "Junior, you must be confused from panic. This is the first time I've seen you perform this dance. Besides, everyone knows we don't get along. Why would I teach you such a beautiful routine if I knew it?" "You bitch, you knew all along, didn't you?" I let Jiangxia push me down weakly, tears welling up in my eyes. "It's okay if you hate me, Junior. It's all the senior's fault. Please calm down, you're scaring the other students." Jiangxia screamed and lunged forward, only to be restrained by security personnel. Other classmates helped me up and comforted me. I wiped away my tears and glanced at Jiangxia with undisguised contempt. The action sent her into another screaming fit, terrified. I hid in the crowd watching her lose it. Just like in my past life, Jiangxia always played the victim. The manipulative games she used on me are now coming back to haunt her tenfold. 6. Since Jiangxia insisted I was the one who leaked the dance moves to her, the organizing committee launched an investigation against me, but they found absolutely nothing. For that, we've got Zhou Rang to thank. To protect Jiangxia from any harm, he privately rented practice studios and destroyed all surveillance footage during their dance training, all to prevent me from proving I taught Jiangxia those moves and stealing her spotlight. Little did he know, this actually played right into my hands. After all, there's no possible connection between me and the secret dance project. While Jiangxia and Zhou Rang were notorious troublemakers school-wide, is there any forbidden place they wouldn't dare to break into? Stealing a dance routine would be child's play for them. Besides, Jiangxia and Zhou Rang are constantly featured on the forum's front page together with me. The committee could easily find out we've been at each other's throats, which only proves Jiangxia's desperate measures, like a cornered rat biting wildly. As for me, I've been the victim through this entire ordeal. This incident has serious consequences. Jiangxia got expelled and now faces potential jail time. Xiadonga, you set me up. Zhou Rang cornered me on the street, the bloodshot eyes betraying how tirelessly he'd been running around for Jiangxia these days. I chuckled. How could that be? I followed your instructions to the letter. Zhou Rang fumed. I asked you to help Xiaxia win first place. Is this how you assist her? I watched him like a circus monkey. Since when did thieves become picky? You've stolen the grand prize this time. Why aren't you celebrating? Xiadonga, you'll pay for this. Zhou Rang stormed off in a rage. I took out my phone and made a call. Initiate the plan. After that day, Zhou Rang grew desperate. He began shuttling between high-end business clubs, scrambling to expand his connections. Finally, at a grand banquet, Zhou Rang hooked up with a female tycoon. This businesswoman was a renowned entrepreneur with fortunes beyond counting. Through her, Zhou Rang gained access to high society circles. Rumor has it their latest amusement involves the crowd drinking and chatting while Zhou Rang plays music in the background. Those who fancied could even step up for a hands-on try. Zhou Rang could only force a smile while catering to the sugar mommies and wealthy benefactors. When Zhou Rang felt he'd grown close enough to his patroness, he seized the chance to ask her to clean up Jiang Xiao's mess. To his shock, the patroness flew into a rage, calling him an ungrateful wretch who couldn't distinguish master from servant, daring to mention his mistress before his benefactor. Zhou Rang turned pale with fright and hurried to placate her. I laughed so hard my stomach hurt when I heard this. How did I know? Because that wealthy lady is my aunt. Sweetie, how much longer are we keeping up this act? That pretty boy annoys me, his shady intentions are written all over his face, so tiresome, my aunt complained while lounging on the sofa. I lowered my gaze. Indeed, Zhou Rang's thoughts were always written all over his face, only someone as blind as my past self could have missed it. Almost there. Just hang on a little longer. My aunt sighed and poked my forehead in exasperation. My dad doesn't know about my collaboration with Auntie. My parents fell in love freely, but back then my father had nothing. My grandfather opposed their marriage, so Mom eloped with him. Grandpa was furious and said some harsh words, stubborn as she was. Mom barely kept in touch with the family afterward. After I was born, Mom's health deteriorated. She reflected on many things and deeply regretted cutting ties with her family. Sadly, she passed away not long after reconciling with Grandpa. Later, Dad and I gradually lost contact with that side of the family. That's why Zhou Rang never knew about my maternal family in our past life. When Zhou Rang mentioned my father had a backup plan after my death, I immediately suspected he'd turned to Grandpa for help. Dad was already hospitalized by then. No matter how resourceful he was, he couldn't have planned that far ahead. The only explanation was Grandpa's intervention. After my rebirth, I visited Grandpa often. The old man would grumble about my visits, yet he'd personally prepare my favorite dishes each time, then insist we share tea and play chess together. Auntie doted on me too. She'd tear up every time she saw me. Later I casually probed Dad about it. He didn't deny it, just encouraged me to spend more time with Grandpa's side of the family. 7. When Zhou Rang saw my aunt wasn't biting, he started scheming other plans. He composed 10 hit songs in a single month, causing a sensation and earning the nickname Hit Machine. Reading the news, I muttered idiot under my breath before making a call. Time to move. 3 days later, at the peak of Zhou Rang's fame, someone claiming to be the original creator released a video. In the video, he detailed his creative journey from conception to completion, presenting timestamps of both handwritten and digital drafts. All evidence pointed to his work being identical to Zhou Rang's newly released piece. A single accuser might have been dismissed, but when over a dozen people simultaneously posted identical allegations, Zhou Rang became the epicenter of controversy, with media outlets swarming to cover the story. Zhou Rang launched emergency PR, tearfully proclaiming, I knew my talent might breed jealousy, but never imagined this. Each composition is my child. If I plagiarized, I'd turn myself in without waiting for lawsuits. Public opinion became polarized. The video creator then delivered the knockout punch. Being short on money, I couldn't bring myself to replace my old piano. That's why there's a slightly off note in my composition. Any trained ear would spot the dissonance immediately. Yet Zhou Rang's score copied even that wrong note verbatim. Just as Zhou Rang attempted to defend himself, one person's appearance shattered him completely. It was a refined, bespectacled man, the same person seen in the video with his cancer-stricken wife. He produced a musical score and declared, I composed this piece 6 months ago during my darkest hours after my wife's diagnosis. The melody was too emotionally heavy, so I shelved it to avoid spiraling into depression. Yet months later, I heard it being played by none other than my own student. With tears in his eyes, Professor Tong confronted Zhou Rang across the screen. There's a line in the second movement written using my wife's pet name. If you claim this composition is yours, care to explain that? Amid the heated arguments, one netizen dropped this bombshell in the comments. The stylistic shifts in Zhou Rang's released compositions are too drastic. No composer can overhaul their signature style so effortlessly in such short time while producing this volume. Unless we're talking about some musical chameleon, then forget I said anything. The comment initially sank without trace, but after being shared by an industry heavyweight, it skyrocketed to legendary status. Turns out the influencer who reposted it was actually someone familiar. He was the man who questioned Zhou Rang at the competition that day. I later learned he's an internationally renowned piano virtuoso, and the junior disciple of that world-class maestro everyone admires. Having just returned to the country and being quite low-key, he rarely makes public appearances. With endorsements from authorities, people regained their senses. Some bloggers even created audio analysis videos debunking the claims point by point. Zhou Rang got completely owned in the end. Watching everything unfold behind my phone screen, I wasn't the least bit surprised. A text message popped up on my phone. "Boss, mission accomplished." I promptly wired the final payment to the other party. That's right, I did all of this. I had people contact the original composers whose works Zhou Rang plagiarized to verify their creative process. When I reached them, several had fallen into deep self-doubt after hearing Zhou's published tracks. They initially thought it was just coincidental similarities in the opening, but the more they composed, the more they realized their new creations perfectly matched Zhou's stolen works. They despised themselves, believing they were unworthy of being composers, even contemplating ending their lives at one point. Yet the real culprit behind all this continues to profit from their suffering, shamelessly feasting on the fruits of others' misery. The person who surprised me most was Yuto-sensei. I learned he had composed a song when donating to his wife's medical fund. The music score gathering dust on the shelf bled sorrow in every note. Yuto-sensei had written this song when his wife first fell ill. In his previous life, he refused to release such a heartbreaking composition, believing its existence meant his wife was no longer healthy. In the end, the family's savings ran dry, forcing teacher Tong to release this song. Yet none of this was known in their past life. That's precisely why Zhou Rang fell into such a deep trap. Plagiarizing a mentor's work is universally condemned across all professions. Crushed by public backlash, Zhou Rang fell from grace overnight. He was utterly finished. 8. The last time I saw Zhou Rang was at a nightclub owned by my grandfather. My aunt was just promising to gift me the club for my birthday when commotion erupted in the opposite room. A disheveled woman burst out, followed by a man clutching his hand. "Zhou Rang, have you no shame? That old man could be my father." Jiang Xia rushed out brandishing a fruit knife, her makeup smeared, collapsing to the ground in tears of utter despair. Meanwhile, Zhou Rang stood drenched in sweat, pressing his bleeding wrist as crimson trickled down. "It seems I'll never be able to play the piano again." I signaled the manager to clear the room and learned the reason behind it. Jiang Xia served a year in prison for what happened back then. After her release, Zhou Rang found her and introduced her to a big shot he used to know. Who would have thought that tycoon was nearly 60? Jiang Xia couldn't stomach it and ended up stabbing Zhou Rang with a fruit knife from the table in a fit of rage. Hearing this, I took a step back. "Xiao Wang, we need to call the police. Our establishment is a legitimate wellness center. This client's indecent behavior is unacceptable and tarnishes our reputation." Only then did Zhou Rang realize I was the owner. When I remained silent, he nervously pursed his lips, face flushed with humiliation, eyes brimming with both defiance and wounded pride. "Without me, Xie Dongga, it's all your fault. You did this to me. Why don't you just die? You should have died like you did in your past life." I gripped his chin and with a slight twist, Zhou Rang's jaw dislocated with a sickening pop. Leaning close to his ear, I sneered, "Xie Dongga was never some saint. An eye for an eye, that's my creed. Did you really think stealing a few songs could make you famous? Without capital pulling strings behind the scenes, without my permission, you wouldn't even have gotten your face on camera. I built you up just to tear you down. That barely begins to repay what you owe me. Fool, you've been dancing to my tune from the start. First glory, then ruin." Zhou Rang could only glare and roar in impotent rage. I wiped my hands in disgust and ordered them thrown out. Zhou Rang was right about one thing, his rebirth was heaven's mercy on his wretched existence. Had Zhou Rang faced this punishment without his past life memories, he'd still be playing the innocent victim. Perfect. Now he'll carry the weight of 2 lifetimes, drowning in eternal remorse. By the way, his plagiarism case was soon adjudicated with a heavy sentence enough to keep him fed for life. I successfully joined the Prosperity Dance Company, becoming principal dancer within 2 years and gracing world stages. The world feels so much brighter without scumbags. Arm in arm with my family, we've wandered every corner under the sun. Story 2. After my husband's white moonlight got married, he jumped off a building. Before jumping, he made a will, leaving all his money to the unborn child in his white moonlight's womb. That disgusting illegitimate child, even I, the legitimate wife, missed out on all the company's shares. Became a worker toiling for the unattainable love, reborn into this life. Looking at the man before me, a trace of disgust flashed in my eyes, like playing the devoted man. Then you can go die together with your white moonlight. 1. When I received the news that I was about to become a wage slave, I was so shocked I nearly fainted in the cafe. My husband's white moonlight, my arch-rival Jiang Yu, sat across from me with a pregnant belly, smiling innocently. Sister. Blame it on our brother for loving me and the child too much. That's why he left the inheritance to me. After all, what father would want his own son to suffer? Isn't that right? Staring at the arrogant woman before me, I clenched my fists tightly, the sharp nails dug into my flesh, the pain excruciating. My husband committed suicide by jumping off a building some time ago, just when I thought I was about to inherit all his property and reach the peak of my life. A lawyer showed up at my house with my husband's will, followed by his unattainable love. In the will, all of my husband's shares were unconditionally given to the child in Jiang Yu's womb, his illegitimate child. As for me, I've gone from being the boss's wife to just another employee. How ironic that after all these years of hard work, I end up working for the mistress and her illegitimate child. Watching Jiang Yu continue to show off in front of me, the light in my eyes gradually dimmed. Then with a smile, I reached into my bag under the table and pulled out my butterfly knife for self-defense, stabbed straight into the left eye of the woman opposite. Blood gushed out, accompanied by screams from the surrounding people. I stepped onto the table and slashed Jiang Yu's throat with another knife, still thinking of using the family fortune I've worked so hard to build all these years to raise your illegitimate child. In your dreams, go to hell with that bastard man of yours. When I opened my eyes again, I thought I was in prison, but the pink curtains told me otherwise. My mother pushed the door open and stood by my bed with a calm expression. Yu Qing, let me ask you one more time, are you really going to marry that penniless Gu Qinghuai? That question jolted me fully awake. I had been reborn, in my past life. I nodded without hesitation, just because he was my first love in high school. I married into the Gu family with a maiden's longing and an exorbitant dowry. In this life, I threw myself onto the bed, kneeling and wailing, no no no, I won't marry, I refuse to wed a penniless man. As soon as the words fell, I saw my mother heave a sigh of relief, then she patted my shoulder and said with a smile, that's my daughter, seeing you so bewitched recently, I thought you were possessed by a ghost. After saying this, my mother's expression immediately turned serious. The Gu family is waiting in the living room right now. Since you don't want to marry Gu Qinghuai, I'll go make it clear. After saying that, she was about to get up and leave, but I grabbed her arm. A cold sneer flashed through my eyes. In my past life, Gu Qinghuai's betrayal was etched deeply in my memory. Having been reborn, how could I let him off so easily? A smile spread across my face. Mom, this trouble was caused by me. I'll handle it myself. I'll talk to Uncle Gu about it, too. In my past life, I was determined to marry Gu Qinghuai. The Gu family had fallen into decline in the capital, and upon hearing this, they acted as if they had stumbled upon a great bargain, immediately bringing Gu Qinghuai to propose marriage. At that time, Jiang Yu was still the adopted daughter of the Gu family and stubbornly followed them here. Gu Qinghuai, in front of his beloved, reluctantly accepted me. Thinking back now, he must have hated me to death. I picked a black cheongsam from the wardrobe. Embroidered with several dark golden lotus flowers in gold thread, it exuded an air of dignified elegance. As my mother watched me in the mirror putting on earrings and fixing my hair, instantly transforming from a college girl to a wealthy heiress, she nodded in satisfaction. My mother and I came to the living room. From afar, I could see Gu's father rubbing his hands together, speaking to my father with a fawning expression, but my father sat stiffly on the chair with a stern face. Seeing me arrive, both Gu Qinghuai and Jiang Yu were somewhat stunned. The Gu family had fallen into decline, with the entire household crammed into a mere dozen square meter flat in the capital. For over a decade, Mr. Gu clung to his delusion of making a comeback, squandering what little remained of their savings. Thus, both Gu Qinghuai and Jiang Yu now dressed simply, completely unlike me. I glanced at Jiang Yu's face, not missing the unmistakable envy in her eyes, seeing me arrive. Father Gu immediately greeted warmly, Youqing's here, come sit down quickly. Look at Youqing's noble demeanor, it's clear she and Qinghuai are a match made in heaven. I smiled and touched the imperial green oval cabochon ring on my middle finger, glancing at Gu Qinghuai across from me. His blue shirt faded from washing. I remained non-committal. Just as Father Gu was about to probe my father about my dowry, I raised my hand to interrupt him. Uncle, I haven't agreed to marry Gu Qinghuai yet. Don't be so quick to calculate my dowry, the duck hasn't even reached your mouth, and you're already planning to suck the marrow from its bones. As soon as I finished speaking, I saw the Gu family's expressions darken in unison. Gu Qinghuai's voice turned stern. Lin Yuqing, how dare you speak to my father like that? Apologize now. I glanced at him disdainfully and sneered. What kind of thing are you, daring to order me around? I'm the eldest daughter of the wealthy Lin family. Your education sponsor. Even if I didn't give you life, I raised you, and now you're demanding an apology from me. I've never seen a shameless man like you who acts tough while living off others. Such audacity. After speaking, I noticed my father sitting beside me immediately brighten up, his gaze towards me filling with appreciation. I couldn't help but laugh. My father was upright and taciturn, so now that I'd voiced his inner thoughts, he naturally felt relieved. The Gu family was momentarily stunned to see their formerly obedient me acting so shrewish. Seizing the advantage, I pointed at Gu Qinghuai's nose and scolded, if I hadn't funded you back then, you'd have dropped out and be selling pancakes on the street by now. Where would you get the money to start a business? It's an honor that I took a liking to you, and you dare speak to me like this. After saying that, I gave a meaningful glance at Jiang Yu standing beside Gu Qinghuai, implying, or is it that your heart belongs to someone else, and I'm playing the villain who separates lovers? Jiang Yu's lips instantly turned pale upon hearing my words. Some time ago, Father Gu was even willing to marry her off to a wealthy merchant in his 50s for bride price, just to secure a new loan and make a comeback. It was Gu Qinghuai who stepped forward, claiming he could marry the eldest daughter of the Lin family, which finally made Father Gu spare Jiang Yu. I'll never forget how Jiang Yu touched her pregnant belly in our past life and smiled at me, saying, do you know what my brother told me back then? On the night of your wedding, my brother held me and told me to endure a little longer, that once he becomes powerful enough, we can be together openly. When Gu Qinghuai heard what I said, he immediately reacted as if struck by a guilty conscience, saying sharply, Lin Yuqing, don't go too far, Jiang Yu and I are just siblings. As the words fell, a faint smile curled at the corners of my lips. This was a confession without prompting. Having navigated the business world for years, my father had long honed a pair of piercing, discerning eyes. His gaze swept over Gu Qinghuai and Jiang Yu. And in an instant, he grasped the gist of the matter, followed swiftly by a surge of anger. Father sneered as he turned his gaze toward Gu's father. The ancients always said, to govern the state, one must first regulate the family. Old Gu, if you can't even keep your own household in order, no wonder your business ventures fail. After speaking, the father coldly signaled to the servant behind him, with a family like this, you still dare dream of marrying my daughter? Preposterous. Attendants, escort this guest out. 3. Just like that, the entire Gu family was thrown out by us. Gu Qinghuai looked particularly disheveled, standing awkwardly outside the Lin family's villa, raising his head to glare at me watching the spectacle from the balcony. Without hesitation, I flipped him the bird. Shortly after, the property security guards dragged Gu Qinghuai away. In my past life, everyone around me doubted the marriage arrangement between me and Gu Qinghuai, saying we were doomed to fail. Only one person consistently tried to bring me and Gu Qinghuai together from start to finish. That was one of my friends, Song Yu, the illegitimate daughter of the Song family. But when Jiang Yu came to seize my assets, Song Yu vanished into thin air like steam. Later, I discovered she had taken a large sum of money and emigrated abroad. Looking back now, I suspect the Gu family had bribed people around me to ensure I married into the Gu family safely. They truly went to great lengths. The night I rejected Gu Qinghuai, Song Yu texted me asking why I broke up with him. Her tone wasn't pleasant, and there was even a hint of accusation between the lines. Gu Qinghuai is handsome and driven. He's already a great match. Yuri not getting any younger this year, and it's already good that someone wants you. How dare you still be picky? After saying that, she sent several contemptuous emojis in a row, then added, if you reject Gu Qinghuai, let's just cut ties. I stared at my phone screen in slight surprise, a flicker of doubt crossing my mind. My past self must have been incredibly patient not to slap this illegitimate daughter who dared speak to me like that. Then I immediately understood. Previously, I was a spoiled young lady with no temper, doted on by my parents and untouched by hardships. It wasn't until after marriage when I was forced to start a business with Gu Qinghuai that I toughened up and became the fiery President Lin. Naturally, my state of mind is different now. Watching Song Yu still spouting nonsense on the screen, I moved my fingers, blocked her decisively without hesitation, thought the matter would come to an end. Who would have thought that blind-eyed Song Yu would, at Saturday's cocktail party, publicly confront me about why I blocked her? At that moment, I was holding a wine glass and speaking with their family's eldest daughter. The Song family's eldest daughter frowned upon hearing Song-yu speak. The Song family is currently eager to collaborate with the Lin family, even she herself has to force a smile when speaking to me. What on earth is this illegitimate child doing now? The crowd of onlookers grew larger as the Song family's eldest daughter scolded. What place do you have to speak in such a setting? Moreover, if someone blocked you, there must be a reason. Have you ever reflected on your own behavior? Before the illegitimate daughter could retort, I cut in, speaking of which, I'd like to ask Miss Song, your family's upbringing can't be that poor, so how did you raise such an outrageous girl? She actually expected me, a young lady from a prominent family, to marry someone like Gu Qinghuai, a down-and-out nobody. Even my marriage arrangements are subject to my parents' approval. Since when did Miss Song become so meddlesome? When she saw me arguing with Gu Qinghuai, she even threatened to cut ties with me unless we reconciled. As I finished, the crowd erupted in mocking laughter, all ridiculing the illegitimate daughter for overestimating her importance. The Song family's eldest daughter flushed red and then paled with anger. Then she shot a glance at her assistant behind her. The assistant stepped forward and slapped Song-yu twice across the face. The eldest Miss Song smiled apologetically at me, saying, "It's entirely due to the Song family's lax discipline that this farce occurred. Rest assured, Miss Lin. We'll take her back and give her a proper talking to." I looked at the disheveled Song-yu before me, her cheeks swollen high, recalling her glorious and untouchable demeanor in her previous life. I nodded in satisfaction. Song-yu was dragged by the servants and thrown into the car, to be sent back to the Song family after the banquet concluded. Meanwhile, I proceeded to discuss business with the eldest Miss Song. Although the current head of the Song family hasn't achieved any major accomplishments, they've done quite well in maintaining the family's legacy. There's still someone worth befriending. The next morning, my father and mother sat on the sofa with serious expressions. Seeing me come downstairs, my father cleared his throat and said, "Yuzuki, starting today, you'll come to work at the company with me. Your mother and I have been overprotective of you before. Any stranger could easily deceive and take you away. Now we should start training you like we would an heir." I had been longing for this opportunity, so I agreed immediately after father finished speaking. Without further questions, father instructed the driver to prepare another car. The Lin family is different from other wealthy families. Mother didn't choose the diplomatic wife route, instead joining the company alongside father after my birth, sharing equal equity, with both spouses working hard together. The Lin family flourished accordingly, becoming one of Beijing's rare families that consistently climbed the social ladder without decline. Even if I had foolishly married Gu Qinghuai in my past life, my parents were no fools, according to my recollection. Gu Qinghuai's true coldness toward me likely began when he heard me say, my parents had already made plans for me. I am the sole heir of the Lin family trust. If I die, almost all the assets will be transferred to a designated foundation to protect endangered wildlife on Changbai Mountain from poaching. Upon joining the company, my father appointed me as the chairman's assistant. After shadowing my father nonstop for a week, I quickly familiarized myself with the company's basic structure. Since it's a joint leadership by the couple, there's no factional struggle within the company. Everyone performs their own duties, and the salary package is commensurate with employees' efforts. With the experience of starting a business alone in my previous life, I basically grasped company matters instantly. Seeing my natural talent, my father immediately abandoned his initial thought of keeping me by his side. On Friday afternoon, as soon as the appointment order naming me as Deputy General Manager was issued, I immediately assumed my new position. For, while everything was peaceful on my side, Gu Qinghuai's situation was filled with gloom and despair. Without me, their financial benefactor, Gu's father was desperate to make a comeback. He immediately sent Jiang Yu out as a cash cow. At every high society banquet the Gu family could attend, Jiang Yu would be brought by Mr. Gu to toast each business magnate present. This explosive exclusive gossip came from my dear cousin, a fine young lady who utterly detested Jiang Yu. Back when Jiang Yu was trying to elevate her social status in their circle, she secretly smeared my cousin, her peer, countless times. Though my cousin retaliated in kind, the two became sworn enemies from then on. To get a close-up view of Jiang Yu's awkward situation, my cousin specially gave me an invitation to the weekend banquet. She wanted me to join her in watching the spectacle. Just thinking about Jiang Yu's arrogant demeanor in my past life fills me with malice. I'm no White Lotus protagonist. I'm just a petty person who loves to kick others when they're down, most skilled at reveling in my enemy's misfortunes. So that evening I made a grand entrance, dressed in the latest haute couture from the runway that made me look like the epitome of wealth and beauty. Not to mention the priceless jewelry adorning me and the refined demeanor cultivated from being raised in an aristocratic family. The moment I stepped onto the red carpet, all the other minor celebrities instantly paled in comparison. The reporters' cameras all turned toward me. The host immediately put on an ingratiating smile when they saw me arrive, handing me a signing pen with both hands for an autograph. I overheard a junior reporter in the corner whispering to their colleague, "Who is that?" Such grand presence. When she arrived, even the newly crowned Best Actress made way for her to take photos first. Their colleague quickly hushed. "You don't know, that's a genuine Beijing socialite, a true heiress." 60% of the celebrities at this gala are employees of her family's company, the questioning reporter gasped, then quickly shut their mouth before my gaze swept over them. That reporter wasn't wrong. Many actors and celebrities in the entertainment industry are indeed our family's employees. However, the Lin family's business empire extends far beyond just the entertainment industry. Finance, internet, computing, catering, culture. The Lin family has ventures in all these fields. Serving as my male escort was the renowned director who watched me grow up. He chatted with me as we walked into the inner venue together. Many familiar celebrities immediately swarmed around, engaging in conversation with the director. I, on the other hand, found my cousin, grabbed some food from the buffet area in the venue, and sat in a corner to eat. The people at the banquet all had different purposes. Business tycoons holding capital either chatted casually or exchanged the latest market trends and future industry policies amidst laughter and smiles. The celebrities' intentions are quite blatant. An accomplished veteran actor stands beside a familiar director, discussing the upcoming filming work. With just a few words, they secured a role that could make an unknown actor famous overnight. Yet more are those obscure but good-looking minor celebrities, constantly searching for targets on the scene. The entertainment industry is never short of beauties. At this time in my previous life, I got engaged and married to Gu Qinghuai. Gu Qinghuai said it was because our family had no power or influence. His younger sister Jiangyu suffered constant bullying in the dance troupe. Jiangyu now wants to switch careers and enter the entertainment industry, asking for my help. For this reason, I went to great lengths at the time to stop Jiangyu from going to accompany wealthy sponsors for drinks. I forcefully got her, who wasn't skilled enough, into a dance variety show. Later, I also spent money on data manipulation and marketing for her. She was forcibly elevated to a height that didn't belong to her, despite being worlds apart from top dancers in terms of innate talent. In this lifetime, I simply smiled faintly. In this life, I didn't help her pull strings. She didn't even qualify for the preliminary auditions. Maybe I can only tag along to the cocktail party by mooching a ticket to accompany older men. As midnight approached, most of the overt business discussions had concluded. A small group of executives, directors, and celebrities left first, while the rest tacitly headed to the top floor, exchanging glances with my cousin. We also stood up and waited by the elevator to go to the top floor. After all, we came here tonight specifically to see the excitement. How could we possibly miss the most thrilling part of the show? My cousin is delicately beautiful, with every smile and frown exuding the charming innocence of a young girl. As for me, I am striking and glamorous, with every gesture radiating an aura of decisive authority. Coupled with our exquisitely expensive evening gowns, we stood out from the crowd even more. The young nobleman beside me gulped and whispered to his companion, "Which noble family do these two beauties belong to? Their master must be quite the lucky man." Before he could finish, his companion immediately panicked and tried to hush him, but it was too late. The female bodyguard behind me strode forward and slapped the young nobleman twice across the face. Blood immediately gushed from his nose and mouth as he collapsed onto the ground. The minor celebrity in his arms let out a shriek and stumbled away in fright. I looked down at the disheveled nobleman with the same disdain one would show to trash. The banquet manager heard the commotion and hurried over, bowing and scraping to apologize to me. Then he escorted my cousin and me to the VIP elevator. My cousin snorted coldly. If it weren't for watching Jiangyu make a fool of herself, I'd never come to such a disgusting place. I glanced at her with a smile and comforted her. Just think about how we'll soon see Jiangyu humiliated. Doesn't that make it better? As I finished speaking, the elevator reached the top floor where a bowing attendant stood at the door. I casually picked up a glass of red wine and walked toward the venue. Compared to the cocktail party downstairs, The people at the upstairs party were more like beasts unleashing their primal instincts, greed, profit above all, and clear class divisions. The wealthy bosses were the center of attention, while their companions fawned over them, carefully currying favor with their benefactors. Among a crowd of good-looking celebrities, I also spotted the person we came to see tonight, Jianyu. Unlike the image we imagined of her being unyielding even unto death, vowing to remain chaste for Gu Qinghai, here she was dressed lightly, leaning against a man in his 40s with coquettish laughter. The two were whispering, and occasionally I could hear Jianyu's deliberate coyness and laughter. I curled my lips. It seems exactly as I imagined. Jianyu was never an easy person to deal with. Poor Gu Qinghai, such a lovesick fool. Even his posthumous inheritance went to that wretched woman, who knew she only saw him as a gullible fool and a backup option. Photography and recording were prohibited at the party. My cousin and I sat in a corner, listening with great interest to Jianyu's conversation with that wealthy businessman. At this party, Jianyu was just a minor internet celebrity. Her looks couldn't compare to those stunning celebrities, but as a dance major, her figure was truly 1 in 100. Seeing the wealthy businessman's gaze drawn by a passing celebrity, Jianyu immediately cooed, "Uncle, you're not allowed to look." Could her figure possibly compare to mine? As she spoke, her cousin sitting behind them made an exaggerated gagging expression. My eyes were filled with sarcasm. After all, Jianyu has built her online persona as the clear-headed female lead. In her videos, she advocates that women should earn their living through their own abilities. Any method relying on beauty and figure isn't sustainable. Girls should have self-respect and self-love. Watching Jianyu being manhandled before my eyes, I let out a cold laugh. Seems like you can't fully trust what internet celebrities say after all. After all, whether influencers are angels or demons behind the camera remains unknown. The party didn't end until late at night. The wealthy merchant dusted himself off and prepared to move to the hotel with Jianyu. The corners of my mouth curled slightly as I sent a message on my phone before leisurely getting up to leave with my cousin. In his past life, Gu Qinghai was deeply infatuated with Jianyu. How could I just stand by and watch Jianyu submit to someone else now? Of course, I had to let Gu Qinghai play the hero and save the beauty. 5. The Lin family's business ventures span a wide range. Luxury hotels are among them. After a drinking session, the wealthy businessman brought Jianyu to a 5-star hotel under the Lin Group for check-in. When she saw the hotel's name, a flicker of unease passed through Jianyu's eyes. Today, Gu Qinghai was conducting business negotiations nearby. Given his previous playboy habits, he would undoubtedly choose this hotel. Fortunately, they were on different floors, so there was no chance of running into each other. But before she could finish feeling relieved, the hotel manager apologetically informed the wealthy businessman, "Sir, there's an issue with the bathroom in your reserved room, and it's temporarily unavailable. We've upgraded your room for free. It still has the auspicious room number 1888. Would that be acceptable?" Upon hearing the room number 1888, the businessman's face lit up with joy, and he eagerly agreed. As the two headed upstairs, the manager finally came to the VIP lounge with great respect to report the completion of the task to me. I took a sip of the fine tea in my cup with a beaming smile. Next, watch me kill 2 birds with 1 stone and reap the benefits from others' conflict. I knew that Jianyu's initiative to seduce the sponsor must have been done under the implicit suggestion of Father Gu. After all, Mr. Gu recently thought he had discovered another industry trend and urgently needed a large sum of money to invest. Gu Qinghai had just finished paying off his father's debts and wouldn't spare a single penny more. Jianyu had grown tired of living in poverty, especially after witnessing the wealth of my Lin family, and was obsessed with climbing the social ladder. So the father and daughter hit it off immediately and quickly found a wealthy backer. As I looked through the materials prepared by my assistant, a faint smile flashed in my eyes, but they were too impatient and completely failed to notice. This wealthy businessman is just a spineless man who rose to prominence through his wife, with an exceptionally domineering wife and children. According to the information I leaked, the wealthy wife will come to catch them in the act in half an hour, while waiting for the wealthy lady to arrive at the hotel. I got up and headed to the changing room, changed into the hotel attendant's uniform. In addition to the standard white shirt and black trousers, I deliberately pinned a thumb-sized brooch next to the name tag. The brooch contained a pinhole camera, allowing me to capture exciting moments while observing the scene. Half an hour later, the floor manager responsible for the 18th floor called urgently, said a group of people came up aggressively, swiping a room card to open room 1888. The leading socialite dragged out a barely clothed woman from the room. Now she's pulling her hair and slapping her face. I'll bring the manager upstairs right away. As soon as the elevator doors opened on the 18th floor, I heard sharp curses and a girl's crying in the hallway. The voices were accompanied by loud slaps. You shameless woman, so young yet already seducing married men. Today I'll teach you a proper lesson to keep you from straying down this wicked path. Someone come and scar her face. With that, I quickly stepped forward, positioning myself at an angle where I could clearly see the noblewoman's face. This position not only provided the clearest view of the cheating scene unfolding in the corridor, through the half-open door, one could still see the face of the trembling wealthy merchant, wrapped only in a towel, the manager, and I stood there, watching helplessly as the noblewoman's servant stepped forward and firmly gripped Jianyu's face. The next moment, disregarding Jianyu's struggles and pleas, the servant mercilessly slashed her face twice without hesitation. Blood splattered onto the carpet as Jianyu let out a wail, clutching her face and collapsing to the ground. Seeing the timing was ripe, a glint of amusement flashed in my eyes. What's so fun about just disfiguring Jianyu, now that Gu Qinghuai is staying in room 1889? How could we not let him join in on such an exciting spectacle? But the soundproofing in 5-star hotels is excellent. No matter how loud the commotion in the hallway, it wouldn't reach the room. I turned my head and gave the manager beside me a look. The manager immediately understood and pretended to panic as he pushed through the crowd. When passing by room 1889, the master key at my waist silently pressed against the keypad lock. A soft sound. Gu Qinghuai's door opened. The manager immediately stepped forward and whispered to the noblewoman, "Madam, the hotel is crowded and prying eyes are everywhere. It's not safe to stay long. We'll call 120 in 10 minutes at most," saying a woman fainted in the hallway from low blood sugar, her face scratched by a hairpin. "You and your people should hurry." The noblewoman, pleased by the manager's tact, nodded in satisfaction. Then she glared maliciously at Jiangyu, who was surrounded by the crowd, her clothes in tatters. Next, Jiangyu was destined to endure the most painful 10 minutes of her life. With Jiangyu's scream, the servant at the front had already taken action. They mercilessly yanked out a small clump of her hair. With such commotion, even someone sleeping like a log would be startled awake. The shriek slipped through the door crack and pierced Gu Qinghuai's ears. He rose impatiently, frowning as he pushed open the door, about to scold when a sentence drilled into his ears. "What are you hiding from, Miss Jiangyu? You volunteered to be the other woman back then. So why are you acting scared now that I've come knocking?" After speaking, Gu Qinghuai heard his younger sister's sobs. He yanked the door open instantly, only to see Jiangyu crouching naked in the hallway, being surrounded and slapped repeatedly. In his shock, Gu Qinghuai failed to notice me standing not far away, wearing a face mask. Jiangyu was forced to lift her head as someone yanked her hair, catching a glimpse of Gu Qinghuai's face in her peripheral vision. Instantly clinging to him like a lifeline, she cried out with hope in her eyes, "Brother, come save me quickly." Gu Qinghuai's pupils trembled violently. Just as he was about to speak, his business partner emerged from the room, looking at Jiangyu on the ground with a puzzled expression. "Qinghuai, is this your sister?" Hearing his friend's voice, Gu Qinghuai suddenly snapped out of his daze as if waking from a deep dream, staring at the disheveled, naked Jiangyu before him. "Then I thought about my usual identity as a carefree young master." Gu Qinghuai gritted his teeth and pretended to sneer coldly. "How could my sister possibly be the kind of woman who actively becomes the other woman? You're insulting me." After speaking, under Jianyu's shocked gaze, Gu Qinghuai patted his partner's shoulder and turned away first. "Going back to my room. People are watching the mistress get beaten. But I have a meeting tomorrow." 6. I stood coldly at the back of the crowd. I watched Jiangyu get beaten for a full 10 minutes. By the time the crowd dispersed, Jiangyu lay on the ground, covered in bruises. Apart from the facial wounds, the most severe injury was undoubtedly the leg fracture. That's because the manager had just whispered in the noblewoman's ear, "Madam, when you hit her, be careful of her legs. She's a dancer. Breaking her legs could cause trouble." The noblewoman's anger was instantly provoked. What can a mere dancer do? "I'm not afraid of some mistress. Beat her up." As soon as the servant finished speaking, the staff came down hard, striking Jiangyu's calf and shin bone, instantly bending them into a grotesque curve. Jiangyu let out a blood-curdling scream before completely losing consciousness. I turned and instructed the manager, "Call 120, and remember to send the bill to the Gu residence." The manager nodded. I took out my phone and condescendingly took 2 photos of Jiangyu to send to my cousin. Happiness shared is happiness doubled. Good things are meant to be shared. Without her proud appearance and legs, Jiangyu would most likely never be able to turn her life around in this lifetime. I didn't come to the hotel just to laugh at Jiangyu's misfortune. Recently, the Lin Corporation has been bidding against the wealthy businessman who came to catch his cheating spouse, and the video footage I have of the affair is the best bargaining chip. After all, the public persona of that wealthy businessman is that of a filial, family-oriented, gentle and humble entrepreneur. The assistant sent me the documents for the upcoming bidding process. After I gave the final approval, we prepared to attend the bidding meeting with the team on Monday. I attach great importance to this bid, as it's the first major project I'll participate in since taking office. The wealthy merchant, relying on his status, only half-heartedly assigned a minor executive as the bid presenter during the tender meeting. The bid documents were also a complete mess, causing the leaders sitting across the table to shake their heads repeatedly. It was completely different from the Lin Group's approach. The outcome was undoubtedly predictable. The Lin family undoubtedly secured this project. Before leaving, that petty leader gave me a hostile look, then sneered and forced out a sentence through gritted teeth. It seems the younger generation is truly formidable, Miss Lin. I smiled humbly, thinking to myself, I even have the VCR of your boss being caught in bed. Of course I'm formidable. Seeing my shameless behavior, the petty official was so angry his potbelly visibly swelled. He stormed off with his entourage in a huff. When I got home and told my father about it, he just waved his hand dismissively. Nothing to be afraid of. That family is in complete chaos right now. Didn't he get caught cheating a while back? Later, when he returned home, he was diagnosed with a venereal disease. His children seized the opportunity to try dividing up their father's assets. Now they're in the middle of a huge fight. My eyes widened instantly, and I gasped in surprise. Father sneered, that shameless old lecher, still fooling around at his age, serves him right. Seeing the look of surprise and slight disappointment on my face, my father immediately caught on. What? That old bastard got caught, and you actually seem a bit disappointed, embarrassed. I confessed to Dad about secretly photographing the tycoon's wife catching him in the act. A flicker of delight flashed in Dad's eyes. After praising me briefly, he said, this scandal still happened at a hotel under our Lin Group's banner. When it blows up, we'll be their first suspect, unless we're ready to burn bridges with that family. It's better to just use this to intimidate Jiangyu, not them, unless absolutely necessary. I nodded in understanding. Leave room for reconciliation, as you may meet again someday. My father, afraid I might take things too hard, patted my shoulder and said, but you did the right thing. Just remember to balance firmness with flexibility, never push things to the extreme, always leave some leeway. You're still young. I'll teach you these things gradually. 7. I initially thought the wealthy merchant would retaliate fiercely against me. Little did I know it was all thunder but no rain. Now that merchant is in the hospital praying to gods and Buddhas, just waiting for doctors to prolong his life. After taking over the project, I led the team to achieve significant results. The success of this project helped me establish my position within the company. At the group's quarterly review meeting, my father specifically praised the department I led. He credited me entirely for driving the department's profits to a record high this quarter. After the meeting ended, my father's assistant handed me a document. I opened it and took a look. It was a new project from a large company currently seeking collaboration, and it happened to align perfectly with my department, so it was assigned to us. But seeing the meaningful smile on my father's face as he left, I instinctively felt things weren't that simple. It wasn't until I received Gu Qinghuai's text message on my phone that I understood why I felt something was off. It was Gu Qinghuai inviting me out for coffee, and on my desk lay the documents my assistant had just delivered to me. On the competitor company's page, Gu Qinghuai's identity information was prominently displayed. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. This was my father testing me, probing to see if I still had lingering feelings for Gu Qinghuai. After work on Friday afternoon, I packed up my things and went to the cafe. Gu Qinghuai was sitting with his classmates chatting, discussing topics about me. Seeing how nervous Gu Qinghuai looked, his classmate patted his shoulder and said with a laugh, "Don't worry, Lin Yuqing likes you so much, she'll definitely give you this business deal. If all else fails, just tell her that if she doesn't give it to you, you won't marry her. See what she does then." As soon as the words fell, I got up from the seat next to him, sneered, and slammed my bag on the bench. His classmate didn't expect me to be right beside him and was instantly mortified with embarrassment. But something even more embarrassing for him was about to happen. I used to like Gu Qinghai and went out of my way to protect his fragile self-esteem. I set aside my pride as a wealthy heiress, wearing cheap shirts worth just a few dozen yuan every day, circling around Gu Qinghai like a junior schoolgirl. So even though I was rich, no one really felt the impact of my wealth. But now, times have changed. Even the bag I casually tossed on the chair is a limited edition luxury piece. Without additional allocations, the market price reaches millions, yet remains unavailable despite the high valuation. Not to mention the watch and bracelet on my wrist, both bearing distinct brand signatures. I glanced lightly at Gu Qinghai's classmate and sneered, "Don't get cocky with me. Just yesterday, your uncle was toasting me at the banquet, begging me to go easy on your family, and today you're here playing the big shot. Are you trying to bankrupt your uncle's company?" Gu Qinghai's classmate immediately shut their mouth. After handling this matter, I crossed my arms and looked at Gu Qinghai with a provocative expression. "Go on, keep talking. I was wondering why you still shamelessly cling to me even after I called off the engagement. Turns out you just want me to hand over my business to you. Is this the only low-life trick you men know? How pathetic can you get?" As soon as she finished speaking, the two people opposite her flushed red as if slapped across the face. Gu Qinghai's classmate snapped sharply, "Lin Yuqing, if you don't want to do business, fine. But don't insult people here." I let out a cold laugh and gave him a merciless look. "Bai Yunjing, right, Gu Qinghai's close buddy from the upper bunk. No surprise you're cut from the same cloth. Not long ago, Gu Qinghai even talked about marrying off Jiangyu, the sister you've had a crush on for years. To you, you were overjoyed and already acting like you're part of the Gu family, and you yourself are a down-to-earth, hard-working young master with no worries about food or clothing. Quite a suitable match indeed. The Gu family has really put in great effort to find such a fine son-in-law like you." Gu Qinghai's expression suddenly changed upon hearing my words. The smile in my eyes deepened. "But do you know why you haven't even been able to see Jiangyu recently?" Gu Qinghai immediately stopped me upon seeing my meaningful smile. "Lin Yuqing, don't go too far." I slapped away his pointing finger and connected my phone to the cafe's projection screen. The video of Jiangyu kneeling naked on the hotel carpet being slapped began to play. I didn't even notice when the coffee shop had been cleared out by me. Apart from the three of us, there was only the owner standing behind the counter who didn't even look up. Bai Yunjing clearly saw the face of the person in the video, and his expression instantly became quite dramatic, along with the woman's curses, sobs, and footsteps in the video. I leisurely tucked the stray hair behind my ear and explained kindly, "Previously, Jiangyu voluntarily became a rich businessman's mistress for money, only to be dragged off the hotel bed by his wife and beaten while having her hair pulled. Your good friend Gu Qinghai happened to be staying next door and even watched the whole scene, but obviously, he chose to betray his friend by not telling you, wanting you to be the one to pick up the pieces. However, Jiangyu's face is now disfigured, and her legs are broken, completely ending her career as a dancer. Now, are you still willing? Is your Bai family still willing to accept her? After all, she's a sister he's lived with day and night." Just as Gu Qinghai was about to stand up and argue, I pressed him back onto the stool with one sentence. "Oh, and here's some extra good news for you. The wealthy businessman Jiangyu was fooling around with was recently diagnosed with tertiary syphilis." My eyes curved into crescents. "Next. It'll be your turn." After saying that, I immediately got up and left, leaving the two of them entangled in the coffee shop. According to my speculation, we're all adults here. Where do all these pure love warriors come from? Needless to say about Gu Qinghai, Bai Yunjing's deep devotion to Jiangyu definitely goes beyond just dating and holding hands, but the most unfortunate thing is, Bai Yunjing's family is in politics. He just passed the civil service exam and is now waiting for the medical checkup to secure his position. Even if syphilis is cured, it can still be detected in tests. Moreover, with the medical examination process imminent, it's too late for treatment now. For a family in politics, having a child involved in such a scandal would bring lifelong ridicule. His future is completely ruined. 15 minutes after I left the coffee shop owner called the police, reporting a violent fight in his store, the kind where people were beating each other to death. 8. Since that day we parted at the coffee shop, news came from the Bai family. Bai Yunjing, the second son of the Bai family, committed suicide the day before his physical examination. Immediately afterwards, news broke that the Bai and Gu families had severed ties, according to my father, who went to pay his condolences at the time. The Bai family was rather indifferent to Bai Yunjing's death. The eldest son of the Bai family didn't even shed a single tear, merely greeting guests with a cold expression. I let out a mocking laugh. This is a critical moment. If Bai Yunjing's scandal were exposed, the entire Bai family would surely face dire consequences. Therefore, sacrificing the pawn to save the king is the only choice. News from the Gu family soon followed. Gu Qinghuai was diagnosed. He had no mood to deal with company affairs anymore. The bidding matter was entirely entrusted to the partner. Although Gu Qinghuai's buddy was unreliable, the partner had genuine talent and knowledge, but even so, due to the incompetence of his subordinates, he became my defeated opponent. After the bidding concluded, I invited him to have a drink together. At the dinner table, I smiled gently. Why don't you consider joining our company, or I could invest and collaborate with you. Let Gu Qinghuai get lost. In my past life, Gu Qinghuai and he parted ways early due to disagreements. He went abroad alone, caught the industry trend, and then rose rapidly, accumulated a considerable amount of capital in just a few short years. We bear no grudges against each other, so of course I must seize this opportunity to develop the Lin family business in this lifetime. The partner smiled faintly and readily agreed. After all, compared to Gu Qinghuai, with the ample financial resources and extensive connections of the Lin family behind me, there's no one like Gu's father to boss him around. He didn't share any particularly deep bond with Gu Qinghuai either. As fellow businesspeople, they quickly reached an agreement. Gu Qinghuai, having outlived his usefulness, was simply cast aside. Just as the Gu family was in complete chaos, Jiangyu was found to be pregnant. With this child, Mr. Gu's petty schemes immediately resurfaced. He took Jiangyu to the wealthy merchant's doorstep, wailing and demanding an explanation. But what he didn't know was that the power in the wealthy merchant's family had already changed hands. The daughter and son of that family somehow managed to split the shares equally. Then with swift and decisive action, they sent their philandering father to a mental hospital. Upon hearing about the Gu family's actions in the wealthy merchant's household, a glint of interest flashed in their eyes. The Gu family is utterly foolish beyond belief. There's a reason why that wealthy merchant dares to play around so recklessly. A car accident over a decade ago left that wealthy merchant infertile. As for that bastard child in Jiangyu's belly now, even I don't know who the father is. Gu Qinghuai's, Bai Yunjing's, these have nothing to do with me anymore. In the end, that family of clowns was driven out, and their reputation became notorious in the capital. The sharp nails dug into the flesh, causing a sharp, stinging pain. My father recognized my abilities and officially began grooming me as his successor. Meanwhile, the business with my partner's company was flourishing more and more. No wonder he was such an elite in his previous life, capable of building such vast fortunes. This time around, I let him manage everything independently while I just handled investments, and we still made a killing. In his previous life, Gu Qinghuai jumped off a building because of stomach cancer. By the time he discovered it, it was already in the late stages. Judging by the current timeline, if I warn him early enough, he might still be saved. But why should I do that? I will make him lose all reputation and die in agony from illness, letting him taste what I endured in my past life. Spring passed and autumn came. Time slipped away swiftly. 2 years later, my father felt I had grown fully capable and decisively stepped back, passing the position of Lin Group's leader to me, and I lived up to expectations. Seamlessly taking the helm of the Lin Group's massive enterprise, my future will be brilliantly bright. Story 2. In my previous life, Jiangqi had cancer, and everyone kept it from me. In order to set me free, he started having an affair, verbally humiliating me and subjecting me to cold violence. I couldn't stand it anymore and finally agreed to the divorce. However, his friend stood on the moral high ground and told me about his good intentions and the truth of his cancer. In a state of collapse, I committed suicide out of love for him, but after my death, Jiangqi was saved. I watched him crying bitterly in front of my tombstone. Then, persuaded by his friends, he pulled himself together and married the woman he had an affair with. When I returned to the day of the party, Jiangqi jokingly said, "Let's get a divorce." Instead of getting angry, I said calmly, "Sure." After I said this, the scene suddenly fell into an eerie silence. In the large and luxurious private room, only I continued to lower my head and eat the bird's nest in the bowl as if I didn't notice. The hand with which Jiangqi had been holding Ning Lan slowly loosened, his handsome face, which had jokingly said that he had fallen in love with someone else and wanted to divorce me, gradually became stiff and ugly. He seemed to have never expected that I would say such a thing, or rather, he knew how much I loved him. So even if it was just a seemingly joking remark, I would take it seriously, get angry, and then start making a scene. How could I say the word yes so calmly? His friends, who each had their own ulterior motives, looked at each other in surprise. For a moment, the premeditated plan to watch me get angry, cry, and make a fool of myself shattered. The plot took a sharp 90-degree turn, catching these people off guard, but I wasn't very happy. I calmly scanned the faces of these people in front of me one by one. Finally, my gaze fixed on Ning Lan's beautiful and glamorous face. In my previous life, I regarded her as my best friend, but I had forgotten that she and Jingqi were close friends who grew up together since childhood. No matter how much she had protected me and how loyal she had seemed in normal times, at the crucial moment, the knife she stabbed into my back was that much deeper and more painful. Ning Lan's expression became a little unnatural under my gaze. She instinctively glanced at Jingqi, seeing that he was staring at me intently, with a dark face, his jaw clenched tightly. Her eyes dimmed for a moment, then she immediately put on a hearty smile and came over to pull me. Come on, don't be angry. It was just that stupid idea of Zhou Su's. We were just kidding with you. I took a step back and avoided her outstretched hand. Without a smile on my face, I looked at Jingqi and said, "But I'm not joking. Seriously, let's get a divorce." Ingqi, too. Ning Lan stood between me and Jingqi, looking at me and then at Jingqi, looking extremely at a loss. Her acting skills had always been very good. If I hadn't died once and my wandering soul had witnessed her kicking over my tombstone with a look of disgust, I'm afraid I wouldn't have known. Under Ning Lan's seemingly hearty and generous mature woman's appearance, there was a heart full of distortion and jealousy. It was rare for her to show such a helpless look. Although I wasn't the cause of it, the blame from everyone present still pointed at me because of her. Zhou Su pushed his chair away and came over forcefully, shouting at me irritably and impatiently, "Xie Yu, don't go too far. We already said it was a joke. You have to make it so embarrassing. Can't you take a joke?" This was really ironic. It was clearly them who were joking, and I was the victim, yet they turned around and blamed me for not being able to take a joke. Zhou Su always spoke bluntly and harshly. I used to think that was just his personality and that he was like this with everyone, so I tried to tolerate him as much as possible. Later, I realized that he was actually like this only towards me. As Jingqi's wife, I had never been accepted by his friends from beginning to end. I ignored what Zhou Su was saying, as if he were barking like a dog. My gaze remained fixed on Jingqi. When Jingqi saw that I showed no sign of backing down, he finally realized that what I had said was very likely serious. He was so angry that he laughed. He let out a cold sneer. Then, he grabbed Ning Lan's arm and pulled her into his arms. He stared at me fiercely and said in a vengeful tone, "Fine, you said it, don't regret it, go home and pack your things. We'll go get the divorce certificate tomorrow." After saying that, in front of everyone, he suddenly lowered his head and kissed Ning Lan's lips. It was a passionate and predatory kiss full of emotions, starting from their lips touching and gradually deepening with the sound of their tongues intertwining. The lighting overhead created just the right atmosphere. The woman's soft waist bent under the force, and the man's long fingers with distinct knuckles, gripping her slender neck, were like the most passionate scenes in a TV drama. I saw Ning Lan pretending to resist and pushing against Jingqi's chest a few times. When she couldn't push him away, she unconsciously reached up and wrapped her arms around his neck. I heard someone gasp in surprise, and then there were the sounds of people excitedly taking out their phones to take pictures. Since I was the closest to them, I could see the most indescribable details. I opened my pale and trembling lips, wanting to say something, but I didn't know what to say. It was just that a soft part of my heart was impacted. It was as if something very precious that I had hidden deep inside me had gently and silently shattered the moment Jingqi kissed someone else without caring about me. Then, I closed my eyes tightly, with a numb face, and turned around and walked out. 3. It started to drizzle outside. The sky and the earth were in a state of chaos. The streetlights were dim and yellow, and the branches of the trees by the roadside, shrouded in darkness, were waving menacingly in the cold wind. There was a couple standing beside me, whispering for a while. Then the boy took off his coat and covered the girl with it. The two of them clung to each other tightly and rushed into the rain together. I watched as they quickly got into the car parked by the roadside. I was in a trance. I felt as if I had forgotten something, but I couldn't remember it. It wasn't until I got home and started packing my things in the room that I suddenly found an umbrella at the bottom of the box. Immediately, my tears couldn't hold back and burst out. It was a transparent folding umbrella. The inside of the umbrella was filled with my favorite cartoon patterns drawn with a black marker pen. One day after school, it rained heavily. I was supposed to go home with my classmate, but then I saw my deskmate. He was standing under the eaves, looking at the gray sky with a distant and lonely expression. He must have forgotten to bring an umbrella. However, there was no one in his family who could bring him an umbrella anymore. I suddenly felt a little sorry for him. After some hesitation, I finally stuffed the umbrella in my hand into his. Don't bother returning it. Consider it a thank you for teaching me how to do the math problems. I used a generous and indifferent gesture to hide my girlish feelings and gave away my favorite umbrella. Then, without even daring to look at his reaction, I turned around and ran under my classmate's umbrella, urging her to leave quickly. My classmate laughed at my burning hot cheeks. I was so annoyed that I started fighting with her, but I couldn't help looking back through the rain under the umbrella. The boy was wearing a blue and white school uniform. His tall and slender figure stood out in the crowd, and he held the umbrella firmly in his hand. The rain was falling, and only the sound of my thumping heart could be heard. The next day, the rain continued. I can't remember what kind of mood I was in when I saw him again, but I still remember every subtle movement when he walked in through the back door of the classroom. The transparent cartoon umbrella didn't end up sitting in a row with the group of colorful umbrellas in the corner of the corridor. It was held in the boy's slender and fair hand, and the rain on the umbrella surface was wiped dry little by little with a soft handkerchief. Then the umbrella was smoothed out, folded up, and carefully put away in the desk, placed together with his textbooks. Jiangji, who was 18 years old, looked up and met my gaze that I couldn't dodge in time. He smiled, and his eyebrows and eyes curved like a crescent moon. He said that he would cherish it for a lifetime. At that time, the thin layer of window paper between us hadn't been broken yet, but in the sound of our two young, suppressed, and violently beating hearts, we both knew that what he meant was that he would cherish me for a lifetime. The rain stopped. I dried my tears and calmed down my emotions. Then I picked up the umbrella that had been forgotten by its owner for many years. Its surface was old and yellowed, the cartoon drawings were blurred, and the frame had long since rusted and decayed, emitting a bad smell of deterioration. I looked at it and sat by the bed all night without sleeping, facing the night. I don't know how long it took, but the night faded away. A ray of dawn broke through the clouds, casting my figure in sharp black and white contrast. I moved my cold and stiff hands and feet, stood up, picked up the old umbrella, and threw it into the trash can. Then I dialed Jiangji's phone number. The summer rain in my youth should come to an end. The phone rang many times before it was finally answered, but what came into my ears was a lazy female voice as if she had just woken up. Hello, who is this? She then yawned, but in my silence like still water, it seemed a bit deliberate. After a while, Ning Lan's voice sounded again. She said in a low voice, with a bit of apology and embarrassment, I took the wrong phone. Wait a moment, I'll waking Chi up. No need, I interrupted her. Then I said calmly, please tell him that I prepared all the materials. Let's meet at the Civil Affairs Bureau at 3 p.m. Without giving the other side a chance to react, I hung up the phone directly. I hadn't eaten anything from last night until now, but I felt very nauseous and wanted to vomit. What loving me, what never regretting the deep affection. In the end, he could sleep with someone else in the blink of an eye, no matter what the reason is. The person who is going to cheat will still cheat in the end. I remembered that in my previous life. After I accidentally discovered this matter, I was so heartbroken that I almost fainted. I lost all my reason and questioned the two of them like a shrew. As a result, Ning Lan had an apologetic look on her face, but she said it was a misunderstanding, an accident, and hoped that I wouldn't blame Jiangji, and Jiangji simply didn't defend himself at all. He let me cry, make a scene, and question him about whether what he had said before still counted. He just remained silent, as if he had some unspeakable difficulties. He looked like he had grievances, had endured a lot, but didn't say anything. In the end, everyone took Jiangji's side. They said he had his reasons, he didn't do it on purpose, and I shouldn't blame him like this. They were the ones who did it, but I was the one who was wrong. He was so calm that I looked like a madman. It made me start to doubt myself. Was I really making too much of a scene? Was it my fault that I shouldn't have made unfounded accusations and slandered the pure friendship between him and Ning Lan for so many years? that was why Jingji acted on impulse and simply confirmed the already ambiguous relationship with Ninglan. I was in a daze and finally agreed to the divorce, but after Jingji handed me the divorce agreement, his condition worsened when he went back. Zhou Su and the others seemed to be unable to stand it any longer and rushed in front of me to scold me. Saying that I had stimulated him, he asked me if I knew that Jingji had done all this out of revenge just to not drag me down. Jingji and I were deskmates in our youth and entered marriage together from school. Jingji's parents had both passed away. I was his only family member. He knew that no matter what, I would never leave him, so he chose this extreme way to drive me away. It was not easy for me to accept the reality that he had an affair and no longer loved me. But Zhou Su and the others said that he had hurt me like this because he loved me too much. Originally, Jingji could have lived for 2 more years. Now, because I had made too much of a scene, his condition suddenly deteriorated. It was all my fault. I only had one mouth and couldn't argue with a group of them. In the end, I completely collapsed mentally. After taking a look at Jingji, who was unconscious in the intensive care unit, I rushed to the rooftop of the hospital and jumped off. Thinking about it now, I was really stupid. Given a second chance, I choose to set myself free and let go of everything in the past. However, I waited at the Civil Affairs Bureau for a long time. It was not until the staff got off work that Jingji finally showed up. 5. I wasn't feeling well and only woke up half an hour ago. Before I could ask him, Jingji took the initiative to explain. His breathing was uneven, and the collar of his shirt under the long trench coat was slightly messy. He didn't even have time to tidy his hair, which was fluffy and sticking up, as if he had just crawled out of bed. He looked at the already closed Civil Affairs Bureau, exhaled a breath. I couldn't tell if he was sighing or relieved. Then he turned to me coldly and said, "Let's make another appointment for a different time." There was no other way. I told him to contact me directly when he was free, and then I didn't want to say anything more and turned to leave, but Jingji suddenly said, "In the morning, you called me," and Lan Lan answered, "What did she say to you?" I was inexplicably angry at his probing tone. The resentment that had been building up in my chest for a long time suddenly erupted. I turned around and sneered at him. "Aren't you two lying in the same bed? Don't you know what she said?" Jingji paused. To my surprise, his expression suddenly softened like the melting of spring snow. It was as if he had confirmed something. He truly let out a sigh of relief. Rarely did he explain to me in a softened tone, "You misunderstood. I drank too much last night, and she sent me home. Since I wasn't feeling well, she stayed to take care of me because she was worried." Leaving aside how ridiculous his words sounded, given our current relationship, I didn't know why he still felt the need to explain this to me. But soon, I understood. Right in front of me, Jingji suddenly coughed, and his face instantly turned a little pale. His handsome eyebrows furrowed tightly, as if he was in some pain, and he coughed several more times in succession. I couldn't tell if he was faking it or if it was real. Anyway, it had nothing to do with me. I turned around and left. There were rapid footsteps behind me, and Jingji grabbed my arm. His face was pale and ugly, and his jaw was tightly clenched. He almost gritted his teeth and said, "I said I wasn't feeling well. Don't you care at all?" I knew he was sick, and it was a serious illness, but so what? I moved my arm and frowned, saying, "Let go." Instead of letting go, Jingji tightened his grip on me, and his expression turned extremely bad. It was he who wanted to divorce me. Now that I readily agreed to the divorce, he was unhappy again. Jingji stared at me fiercely for a while, then suddenly flung my hand away. He coughed violently and said in a heavy tone, "Fine. I'll let you go." He suppressed his anger, as if there was an indescribable pain in his heart. Without saying a word, I lifted my leg and walked away, but suddenly, there was a loud noise behind me. Jingji fainted. I quickly called an ambulance and rushed him to the hospital urgently. After a moment of hesitation, I called Ning Lan. Anyway, after divorcing me, Jingji would marry her sooner or later. It wasn't appropriate for me, a soon-to-be ex-wife, to stay here. Upon hearing the news, Ning Lan said nothing and quickly rushed to the hospital. Zhou Su came with her. I stood up from the corridor bench and was about to tell them that Jingji had been sent for emergency treatment. Then I saw Ning Lan rushing up to me with a cold face. Suddenly, she raised her hand and slapped me hard across the face. I was stunned. I heard Ning Lan say to me in an unprecedentedly cold and hateful tone, "You're such a jinx. Are you only going to be satisfied when you've killed him?" 6. I touched my numb cheek on the side that had been slapped, feeling the sharp ringing in my ears. I raised my head and was about to fight back. However, Zhou was quick and stepped forward to give me a hard push, knocking me to the ground. He stood in front of Ning Lan and looked down at me. He angrily scolded, "You still have the guts to fight back, try hitting me." I propped myself up on the cold ground with my hands, trembling with anger. Just then, the light in the emergency room went out. And the doctor came out. Ning Lan couldn't be bothered to settle the score with me and immediately rushed forward. Zhou followed closely behind, but as he passed by me, he paused. Then, the expensive Italian handmade leather shoes on his feet stepped hard on the back of my hand that was propped on the ground. He was over 1.8 meters tall with firm muscles all over his body, and he almost crushed me with his entire weight. I cried out in pain and tears welled up in my eyes involuntarily. I looked up and glared at him, but I saw him standing under the ceiling light in the corridor, his silhouette blurred, with an extremely vicious sneer on his face. "If you have the guts, call the police." Like the breath of a devil, he taunted me silently with his lips. In an instant, I felt as if I had been dragged back into that dark period of my previous life when I was morally bullied and mentally collapsed. I felt as if icy cold water had been poured over my head, making me feel cold from head to toe. The thought of calling the police, which I had originally had, instantly vanished like ashes. I suddenly remembered that Zhou's family was extremely powerful. Calling the police was no different from directly calling Zhou and accusing him of the fact that he had bullied me. What else could I get besides a bout of ridicule? Previously, he might have been skeptical of Jiangqi, and even when joking with me, he didn't dare to go too far. But now that my relationship with Jiangqi had completely broken down, he no longer concealed his hostility towards me. I couldn't figure it out before. Why did he hate me so much? But now I knew. He, Zhou, was just a lackey of Ning Lan. Since Ning Lan liked Jiangqi, he followed Jiangqi's lead. Since Ning Lan hated me, he hated me to the bone. I sat on the ground for a while, and when the pain subsided and my hands and feet regained their feeling, I stood up. Without looking back, I left in a hurry, eager to escape. I called a moving company, packed all my luggage, and left the most prosperous city center. I returned to the old house in the suburbs, pushing open the door. There was a boring period drama playing on the TV. There was a musty and old smell in the house. The old woman in the wheelchair, who was dozing on the balcony, heard the commotion and lifted her dull and drooping eyelids. Seeing me walking in with large and small bags of luggage, as if she had expected it, she twitched the corners of her mouth and asked me mockingly and triumphantly, "Look, what did I say? Were you kicked out?" 7. I ignored her as if I hadn't heard her and silently packed my luggage. My mother straightened up in the wheelchair and shakily picked up her reading glasses and put them on. She didn't ask anything and didn't care about anything. She just started eagerly promoting the son of the neighbor downstairs to me again. "I told you long ago not to aim too high. Why would a rich person take a fancy to you? You have neither a good chest nor a good butt. Now you've been played by him for a few years and been kicked out just like that. I thought that guy wasn't a good person from the start. Fortunately, you two don't have children, and you can still get married. I'll call Aunt Sue to see if her son is at home. Stop packing and hurry up and dress up to meet him." She searched for the numbers one by one on the senior mobile phone. I angrily threw my clothes into the suitcase and said unbearably, "What? Can't I live without a man? If you like Aunt Sue's son so much, why don't you marry him? You keep saying meet him every time we talk. People who don't know might think he's so great. I just want to ask, has he gotten out of prison yet? You're introducing a man like this, who messes around outside and doesn't have a proper job, to me. Am I really your daughter?" My mother's face immediately darkened, and her eyes were so fierce that it seemed as if she wanted to swallow me alive. She scolded, "It's already good that he doesn't mind you being divorced. You're still being picky. If you keep being picky, no one will want you. If you don't get married, do you want to drag me down for the rest of my life?" I felt a lump in my throat, unable to swallow it or spit it out. I was almost on the verge of depression. There was no reasoning with her at all. She wouldn't listen to anything. Her old and decayed concepts had already penetrated deep into her bones. Even her own flesh and blood had to make concessions for it. I simply stopped packing my luggage, stuffed everything into my room, and closed the door. "I won't drag you down. I'll move out in a few days." I heard the sound of the wheelchair rolling outside. Then there was a violent knocking on the door. My mother angrily cursed me, saying that I had grown too bold and was rebelling. She said, "Even if you move out, you still have to go on a blind date for me. Your divorce has already embarrassed me enough. Do you want me to lose face in front of the neighbors? Besides, what's wrong with little Sue? don't listen to others' rumors, I'm your mother, would I harm you? I found earplugs and stuffed them into my ears. Then I started looking for rental houses on my phone. This home was still the same as before. Staying here for even a second more made me feel suffocated. I had thought that as long as I found a place to hide, and after Jingqi woke up and we got divorced, my world would be peaceful, but things didn't turn out as I expected. After another time of not being able to eat and vomiting in the bathroom, I held a pregnancy test stick and stared at the 2 red lines on it, lost in a daze. 8. At this time in my previous life, I was still having crazy arguments with Jingqi. At that time, I was on the verge of a mental breakdown. Because of the matter between him and Ninglan, I was suspicious all day long. I didn't notice the abnormalities in my body at all. In this life, in just a few days, I had decided to divorce Jingqi, and his condition had deteriorated earlier, and he had been admitted to the hospital. I didn't stay in the hospital and left directly, so Ninglan and the others didn't have the opportunity to tell me the truth about Jingqi's cancer and use this matter to fiercely besiege me. As a result, I accidentally discovered that I was pregnant, that is to say, when I died in my previous life, I was also pregnant with a baby in my belly. It was the death of both the mother and the child. I pressed my forehead against the mirror in front of the sink and closed my eyes, unable to express the sadness and pain in my heart. But when I opened my eyes again, tightly pursed my pale lips, and looked at myself in the mirror, I knew that I couldn't keep this child. It had come at the wrong time. I still had a tough battle to fight with Jingqi and the others, and I simply didn't have the ability to take care of it. I stroked my belly, and a plan gradually took shape in my heart. Even though my relationship with Jingqi was currently tense, after all these years of affection, it wasn't so easy for him to let go. As long as he still cared, then the role of this child that was destined not to be kept could be maximized. I let out a sigh and softly said sorry to the baby. The next morning, I tiptoed out of the room, originally planning to sneak out. But I didn't expect that my mother got up so early. She was still sitting on that small balcony. The morning light was faint outside, making it impossible to see her expression clearly at the moment. Her voice was faint, like that of a ghost. Getting up so early to meet which other man? I felt very uncomfortable hearing this and retorted, anyway, it's not to meet your little Sue. Unexpectedly, this time, she didn't argue with me. Instead, she said to me softly, Mom has already inquired for you. Little Sue will be back in a few days. You should go and meet him. With a click, I closed the door. I didn't bother to listen to what she said next. It was probably the same old story. I went to the hospital where Jingqi was admitted, but I didn't directly go to his ward to visit him. Instead, I hid in the dark and observed. Jingqi had already woken up. All day long, Ninglan stayed by his side. Zhou Su couldn't stay in the ward for long. After a while, he would come out and go to the stairwell to smoke a depressed cigarette. But he was reluctant to leave. He could only, over and over again, like self-torture, watch the person he loved show tender concern for his best brother. At this moment, I walked down the stairs step by step, hearing the noise. Zhou Su looked up, seeing that it was me. Zhou Su immediately frowned. He exhaled a smoke ring and said in an unfriendly tone, What are you doing here? Didn't you learn your lesson last time? I stared at him and suddenly smiled. I said, How could a young lady like Ninglan be so cheap and know she's the mistress but still act as one? Zhou Su's face instantly changed. He pointed at me, his expression fierce, and angrily said, Watch your mouth. I raised my eyebrows and quietly approached him. I continued, I've changed my mind. I'm not going to divorce Jingqi. This way, she will never have the chance to take my place. But a loose woman like her is a perfect match for a shameless dog like you who licks others' boots. Zhou Su cursed, and the veins on his forehead bulged. He habitually gave me a hard push. He was about to strike again, but he didn't expect that I missed a step and rolled down the stairs directly. Zhou Su was stunned for a moment, frowned, and stood on the high ground, looking down at me coldly, until I curled up, covered my stomach, and said with a pale and trembling face, My baby. Zhou Su's fingertips suddenly trembled, and the cigarette fell from his hand. His entire face instantly turned pale with shock. 9. Despite seeking medical treatment in time, the baby couldn't be saved. This was inevitable. After all, just in case, I had taken the abortion pill before coming. When I opened my eyes, the first thing I saw was Jingqi, wearing a hospital gown and with red eyes, sitting by my side. When he saw that I had woken up, he immediately sat up straight and wanted to hold my hand, but halfway through extending his hand, he let it drop dejectedly. His eyes were a little moist, and he said to me in a hoarse voice, "The baby is gone. We had always wanted to have a child of our own. For this reason, Jiangchi had started preparing for pregnancy a long time ago, reducing his company's social engagements, quitting smoking and drinking, and having regular physical examinations. It was through this examination that the problem was found." I showed a shocked and sad expression. As our eyes met, tears rolled down my cheeks. Noticing Zhou Su standing in the corner with his head down and not saying a word, I raised my finger, pointed at him, and said with a sobbing voice and resentment, "It was him. He pushed me down the stairs." The incident happened so suddenly that everyone was caught off guard. Now that Jiangchi knew the truth of the loss of the baby, he turned his head to look at Zhou Su, finding it almost unbelievable. Zhou Su opened his mouth but couldn't defend himself, after all. Even if what I said was unpleasant, the fact that he had laid hands on me was undeniable. The next second, Jiangchi stood up and rushed forward, punching Zhou Su and knocking his head aside. He grabbed Zhou Su's collar tightly, furious, and roared at him, "Are you crazy? She's my wife, that was my baby." The two of them fought fiercely. Basically, Zhou Su was the one getting beaten, and he didn't dare to fight back. It wasn't until Ning Lan came to break up the fight and was pushed hard by Jiangchi that Zhou Su lost his temper and counterattacked. "What about Ning Lan? What on earth do you take her for?" The air in the ward instantly became stagnant. Jiangchi looked at me, lying on the hospital bed, weak from the pain of losing the baby. He calmed down his rapid breathing. He coughed and suppressed it again. Ning Lan felt sorry for him and wanted to step forward to soothe his back, but he avoided her. It was such a similar scene, but this time, Jiangchi said in a deep voice, "I have always only regarded Ning Lan as a friend." As soon as these words were spoken, Ning Lan took a stunned step back and looked at him with disappointment and pain. Zhou Su cursed, pushed him aside forcefully, and dragged Ning Lan out of the ward. I watched as Jiangchi called the nurse and asked to add a hospital bed beside mine. He wanted to move over and stay by my side. It was as if everything had returned to the beginning. He put away his thorns, his sarcasm and hurt, and revealed the true feelings of loving me. He said that even though the person was Zhou Su, since he had hurt me, he would definitely avenge me and our baby. Hearing these words, my heart couldn't help but tremble. But just as my emotions were slightly softening, I suddenly heard a strange mechanical voice. "Detected a change in conditions. The current strategy time is shortened. The host is requested to complete the task of winning over the White Moonlight ex-wife within 1 month. If within 1 month, the White Moonlight ex-wife is not willing to sacrifice herself, the task will fail, and the host will lose the protagonist halo and stay in this world forever." Jiangchi, who was holding my cold hand and gently stroking it, suddenly stopped his comforting movement. I was also suddenly stunned. 10. There has been a change in the conditions. Jiangchi murmured in a low voice. He seemed a bit puzzled, but immediately, he keenly noticed that something was wrong with me. He lifted his eyelids, and his deep eyes locked onto me tightly. He smiled and said gently, "What's the matter, baby?" This call of baby was strange. Connecting it to that strange voice just now, it was hard for me not to feel wary. I pulled my hand back from his palm. I met his inquiring gaze. I hesitated for a moment, then lowered my eyes and said in a low voice, "I'm tired and want to take a rest for a while." Jiangchi stared at me for a while longer. Seeing that I really looked tired, he finally felt at ease. He gently covered me with the quilt and thoughtfully drew the curtains. From that day on, Jiangchi moved into the same ward as me. He was a patient himself, yet he took care of me personally. Several times, the nurse wanted to persuade him and tell me about his condition. But Jiangchi interrupted her. He clearly seemed to be hiding something from me and was being incredibly nice to me. It was as if the person who had deeply kissed Ning Lan in front of me some time ago and told me not to regret it wasn't him. If I didn't know there was something wrong with him, I might have thought I had some kind of schizophrenia. I prudently chose to stay put and maintained an indifferent attitude towards him. Finally, one night, I got the answer I wanted. At night, it was dark and quiet all around. Jiangchi thought I was asleep and got up to go to the balcony to smoke. I heard that strange voice again. Jiangchi talked to it, and his tone seemed a bit anxious. He asked, "System, what is Xie Qingyu's current love value for me?" The system replied, 61%. Jiangchi clicked his tongue heavily. He said with chagrin, "No wonder she's been like a different person since I proposed the divorce. It seems I was too hasty." After a moment of silence, Jiangchi said in a low voice, "That idiot Zhou Su, I don't know what he did to her behind my back, She even gave up the baby just to use me for revenge. My heart jolted in fear. So he had seen through it all. The system suddenly reminded, "Host, there are only 25 days left for the task." Jiangqi snuffed out the cigarette butt and said in a deep voice, "I know, don't rush me." He started turning around and walking back into the ward. Obviously, the only sound in the room was his footsteps. But his voice rang clearly in my ears at the same time. The female lead and the male supporting character are both unreliable. I have to do it myself. I built an airtight basement at home. I have plenty of ways to make her willingly die for me. Oh, by the way, if she's afraid of pain and doesn't dare to commit suicide, if I kill her with my own hands, will the task be considered completed? I heard the sound of the quilt being lifted beside me. Then, the bed sank with a creaking sound. The voice of the system also seemed to be ringing right inside my head. It said, "Yes, 11. Jiangqi took away my phone. Normally, he wouldn't let me touch it on the grounds that he wanted me to have a good rest. Until the next day, my phone suddenly rang a few times. Someone had sent me a message. Jiangqi had been peeling fruit. Hearing the sound, he picked up my phone and took a look. He raised his head and suddenly asked me with a half-smile, "Wife, who is Brother Sue? Why did he suddenly ask you to meet? It seems you've never mentioned him to me." I was startled, but I firmly suppressed my expression and calmly reached out my hand to him. "He's my cousin. We have a good relationship in the family. He moved to another place a few years ago, and we've had less contact, so I never told you about him. I guess he's stopping by to see my mom on his way back to our hometown." After hearing this, Jiangqi didn't suspect anything. He knew how complicated my relationship with my mom was and also knew what a futile and face-saving person my mom was. If I didn't reply to my relative's message, I'm afraid my mom would call and start scolding me in the next second. The swear words she used were as unpleasant as they could be. Jiangqi had been scolded by her and still regarded her with great caution, so without asking any more questions, he directly returned the phone to me. I quickly read the message, "Brother Sue, where are you? Brother Sue, address, Brother Sue, come and meet me immediately." While Jiangqi got up to wash his hands, I quickly sent him 2 addresses, which were the hospital and Jiangqi's home respectively. "Brother Sue, me, save me." After confirming that he had seen it, I immediately deleted these 3 messages. Then I sent some unimportant content, roughly saying that I had quarreled with my mom and didn't want to go home, and I was too lazy to look for him, so I told him to go and have fun on his own. It was very much like a conversation between siblings, and Su Lingzhou's way of speaking hadn't changed at all since he was a child. Besides sending question marks, he just greeted me. He asked me if I was crazy. I didn't reply to him anymore, because a pale and slender hand took the phone away from me. Jiangqi scanned through the messages we had sent line by line and gave a soft laugh, but he didn't return the phone to me. Instead, he turned it off directly. "All right. We've said what we needed to say, you can rest for a while longer. Later, the driver will come to pick us up and take us home." I clenched my hand hidden under the quilt and asked him in a flat tone, "Is your illness cured?" Jiangqi smiled ambiguously and said, "I can also recuperate at home." This meant there was no room for doubt. Time was running out. Once I went home with him, my chance of escaping again would be very slim, so while he left the ward for a moment, I took the risk of getting out of bed and running outside directly. But I never expected that. Jiangqi hadn't left at all. As soon as I opened the door, I bumped straight into Jiangqi's chest, who was waiting for me at the door. He suddenly grabbed my wrist forcefully. He sneered and said,